Namaskaram everyone. Today is just me. I thought I'd share some insights from Sadhguru in this book that I think will bring some value and some context to people that do not know too much about Satvik food or positive pranic food. In my first video, I remember sharing with you when we go to the yoga center, the type of food that we are served there, which is generally positive pranic or sattvic food. So today it's going to be all about that. It's in page 65 of this book. It goes into a lot more details, and so if you'd like to get read a little bit more in depth, I'm going to share a link to how to purchase this book online. I think you can get both the paper copy like this as well as an ebook. So then you can have a little bit more insight, in-depth insight. But today I'll just share a summary of a few points from here. So first of all, what are pranic foods? So according to Sadhguru, in yoga, we do not look at food in terms of vitamins and minerals and proteins. Instead, food is categorized in positive pranic, negative pranic, and neutral, which is zero pranic foods. So negative pranic foods, essentially foods and substances that take away prana from the food. Prana, which is essentially life energies, and then positive pranic food do the opposite. They add life energies to the food that we're eating, and then zero pranic food is basically do not add the zero or take away. They are neutral foods. So I will start off with negative pranic foods because that's this. It has a short list, and then it goes into zero pranic and then positive pranic, which is the biggest. That's good news. So the negative pranic foods, I'm not going to give you all. Well, there's a couple of pages in it, so I'll let you guys read and get more insight on that on your own. But in summary, negative pranic foods are foods like onion, garlic, asafoetida. Asafoetida is mostly used in Indian. I've noticed a lot more in Indian recipes. It's called hing. And chilies. So I read a little bit more about chilies. In all these curries, mostly red chilies are used. And then so the recommendation here is, if you want to create a completely pranic adaptation of all these recipes, you can use black pepper instead of red chilies, or green chilies are like the worst. Brinjal, which is eggplant, tea, coffee, alcohol, essentially they are all considered as nervous stimulants or intoxicants. So they hype the nervous system, and so anything that anything that plays upon your nervous system is generally negative pranic. So then he shares a story on how this negative pranic food came, who created it. So there's a really beautiful story, and it also explains a little bit more about, a little bit more into this. So I'll leave it to you guys. And then there's lot more, I guess, a lot more explanation on each of the ones that I just mentioned not too long ago. So we'll just go through a few. The first one is garlic and onion. So about garlic and onion, garlic is used as a powerful medicine if properly used in Ayurveda especially. but consuming it in an everyday basis is a totally different thing. So there's garlic, and then chilies. So chilies is when you think of curries and sabzis and Indian food, especially even growing up in Fiji, we have Indo-Fijian food. So chilies is on the top there. And so one thing that he shares here is, if us growing up with chilies, we're just so used to it that it's just part of our palate. But if you were to introduce like a spicy filled with chili food to somebody who's not used to it, right away he or she will have diarrhea, which is essentially the body is recognizing it as a poison. So what it's doing is it's trying to purge. So and even if you notice, when you go through long periods without very bland food and then all of a sudden you have a lot of chilies, you will also have diarrhea. So a little bit of a context there. And then eggplant. I'm going to spend a little more time here mostly for my Indo-Fijian people. We love eggplant. Growing up, we'll have eggplant in everything. Aloo bacon bora, and then aloo matori bacon. So bacon, and then even in dal we'll put bacon in it. So I thought I'll give spend a little more time here. And so basically I too love my bacon. But what I found was a great substitute for bacon is zucchini. So now instead of same recipe, but I'll just use zucchini. So just the other day I made aloo matori, and then instead of bacon I put zucchini. It works just the same way, if not tastes better. So what it really does is there's a certain poison in it which tends to cause brain damage. Obviously you eat one bacon, you're not going to be brain dead. We are here, and we made it. But over a period of time, what it really does, it dulls the system. And then Sadhguru recommends that if you have children, especially in the house, it's a good idea to really reduce bacon, or even you can banish bacon, because it really sabotages the intelligence of little kids growing up. So the next one is it the last one? Yeah, tea and coffee. Tea and coffee, I don't need to speak too much about it, because we all kind of know how, if we used to tea or coffee in the morning, our days cannot start unless we have that, literally sometimes. So it's not that he is against, in this book, against tea or coffee, but essentially if you were to consume something compulsively, that your body will start to tremble. If you don't consume it, then it's a problem. So if you enjoy your coffee for the flavor, and then for the that feeling, then it's okay. But if you're consuming it because anything that's done compulsively, it turns ugly. So, and then if I must have it every day, then it's a problem. So, and then that is it for negative pranic. And then we go into zero pranic foods. Zero pranic foods here is foods like potatoes and tomatoes. And then so especially with meditators and people in the yogic path, why they avoid it is because it increases the sleep quota, so it makes you a little bit more lethargic. So if you're trying to stay up for longer periods of time with more alert, then avoiding these two might be a good idea, or reducing it would be a good idea. The other thing that I found out, which was quite insightful actually, is if you're experiencing swelling and aching joints, then avoiding this potatoes and tomatoes is a good idea, because apparently it aggravates joint problems like rheumatism and arthritis. So if you have this condition, maybe you could experiment and see if it helps, just reducing this. And then finally, positive pranic, which is the biggest category. So everything but the negative and the zero pranic, it is positive pranic that adds life energies to your system, which is fruits, veggies, sprouts, nuts, dried fruits are all considered as positive pranic. So yeah, that is all that I have today. I thought I'll give you a little bit more idea of all the recipes without these ingredients. So the reason why Satvik food is a lot more desirable, I guess, for people on the yogic path, or just in general, people who are wanting to add more life energies. And these recipes are just so delicious, so might as well. So I hope this gave you some insights of something we hear all the time: prana, positive pranic food, and sattvic food. So like I said, if you want a little bit more details, please feel free to buy the book online. I'm sure it's available in Isha Shopee, as well as all the other major platforms like Amazon. So I'll leave the link in the description box. And until we meet again, namaskar.